Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Virtual Retailing Best Practices. I'm Charles Bowles, Director of Strategic Initiatives. I'm excited to host today's webinar and share virtual retailing best practices for dealers. Understanding how to sell in a digital world is an important part of having a successful business in general, but having a strong digital presence is especially crucial in an economic environment like the one we're currently facing. Okay, here's what I'll be discussing today. Why digital marketing matters and is so important to the success of your dealership. Who your buyer is and the challenge of keeping up with the evolving consumers. We'll jump into how to hone your online listings, and I'll share our paid strategy that you can start implementing immediately. Finally, I'll walk through some key digital best practices you should be following, again, during times like these, but really always. Did you know that 80% of marketers report their lead generation efforts are only somewhat effective? And 65% of marketers report that generating traffic and leads is their biggest challenge. So why does digital marketing matter? And how can your digital presence improve your traffic and leads? Americans are checking their phone on an average of, get this, 80 times a day. That's 80 touch points you have an opportunity to connect with your consumer every day. Don't believe me? How about this? How many of you have checked your phone, looked at your email, checked your Facebook, or looked at something on the internet since the time you've joined this webinar? They are selling to themselves before you even have a chance to make your pitch. Smartphones have become the companion that people turn to when they want to know, want to go, want to do, and want to buy throughout the day. More than 75% of your potential customers are conducting internet research before generating a single lead. That's 75%. So now that we've touched on what's happening in digital marketing, let's take a minute to look at who your buyer is. The RV buyer is someone you're very familiar with. They're typically going to be a baby boomer who is married. They have kids who have already moved out of the house. They have disposable income, and as they near retirement, they're thinking about how to spend the next chapter of their lives. It's important to note also RV renters. They may even be the opposite of your typical RV buyer. They're usually younger in the millennial generation, possibly married with children, and most are still working. I found this slide to be very interesting. We've broken it into millennials and boomers. By age, let's take a look at your buyers' average screen time on their devices. Millennials are spending a majority of their day on Facebook, texting, searching the internet, and on Twitter for a total of 3 hours of screen time every day. Your boomer is spending time on Facebook, texting, researching on the internet, and on email for an average of 2.8 hours every day. The difference between how much screen time your millennial is on the phone and your boomer is on the phone is only 0.2 hours. This does not include the time spent on their computer or the time spent on tablets. Your buyer spending most of their day online, and in order to retain your customers and grab onto those new customers, it's important that your online presence is strong. The challenge that dealers are facing today in our current digital-focused environment is how to sell your units in this increasingly online world. Consumers and the way they shop for products and services is constantly evolving, so the way you market needs to be evolving as well. Did you know that the average customer consults 24 different resources during their path to purchase? That means consumers are no longer calling a business as soon as they decide they want to buy. They're doing the majority of their research first, and by the time they do contact you, They already have in mind the precise unit that they're looking for. And of those 24 resources, 19 are digital. So other than things like talking to friends and family or viewing an ad in a newspaper or on TV, the other 19 methods of research and touch points are all happening online. From watching videos, seeing digital ads, visiting your website, checking out your social media pages, reading online reviews, and more. Because of these touch points, your customers are more equipped to know what they want. 43% of buyers purchase the unit they initially considered. And 72% of buyers said a dealership could not change their mind about what they are interested in. Prior to the internet, screens and tablets, the customer experience happened in 3 steps. Stimulus of a need for a product. This was how a person was triggered to reaching out and seeking your dealership. The next step was the first moment of truth. This is where the person walked into your dealership and interacted with your sales team and the product. Before the digital age, there was nothing before this. The only choice your consumer had was to walk in and talk to you. Then came the last step, the second moment of truth. This is where a person took the unit to their business and got to experience it and come to the conclusion on their own of how they liked the product. In the digital age, we're seeing the 0 moment of truth. 0 moment of truth. This happens online all before you can even interact with the consumer. So what is the 0 moment of truth exactly? Google coined the term 0 moment of truth in 2011, and they described it as the research which is conducted online about a product or service before taking any action. This is the time a consumer takes on their own to do research. So consumers come to you more sure of what they want. If you do not have a strong online presence, these consumers are likely to look you over for the brands they can gather for more information from online because consumers no longer go into a purchase blindly. Our goal as a business should be a large part of the 0 moment of truth. Supply customers with the information they need online so they are not looking at any other dealership other than yours. This graphic visually represents a consumer's 0 moment of truth. They start their online research by looking at all the different dealerships out there. Imagine these storefronts are all the different Google search results. As your consumer looks through each website or storefront, they start to eliminate dealerships based on whether or not they have pictures, if they're engaging on social media, or if they provide any education at all. They're doing all of this to gauge how helpful a dealership would be during the buying process. So how do you set yourself apart from your competition? The first step is to hone your online listings. Before you can talk about other digital marketing strategies, you must talk about honing your online listings. Without this, you really aren't even on the block for buyers to consider you. If a buyer comes to your site and none of your inventory is listed, or there are no pictures and no prices, they'll move on. We know that empirically. If a consumer can come to your site and gather all the information about a unit they need without having to look at another dealership, you've already persuaded them to narrow down to your dealership during the buying process. That is critical. 82% of buyers say that listings are an important part of their online research. Listings are crucial because they reduce days on lot, create competitive advantage, and increase your reach substantially. And remember to list all of your inventory because every piece is unique and you don't want to miss an opportunity to sell. Within your online listings, what are consumers even looking at. Because it can seem overwhelming putting this whole digital strategy together for your dealership, we came up with PAID, which is an acronym to help you easily remember how you can hone your online listings and get paid. Okay, so let's go through this. The P in PAID stands for price. There are a lot of factors within price, and you have to be transparent. Nobody wants a surprise when they pick up the unit and find out it's going to cost extra for the things they did not factor in. Include all the additional pricing that comes with buying a unit. Listing that included price information will make your listings perform much better. Conversion rates are much higher, and listings with price receive much more engagement than listings that don't include price. This simple addition is easy and makes a big difference. The A in PAID is for appearance. You can have every other acronym in PAID perfect, but if you don't take the time to create keywords on your listings, they will get lost in Google search. This includes things like having your location addresses listed and calling out specific keywords in your description, which helps you appear higher in search results. The I in PAID is for images. Visuals increase retention by 42%. You also want to give consumers a realistic picture of your unit with well-taken photos that show off what makes it so impressive, unique, or different from the others with which you're competing. Show everything. Be honest. If there's damage, they should be expecting it. Tell them up front. Every scratch, dent, or issue, you want the buyer to have no surprises when they show up on the site and pick up the unit. And lastly, the D in PAID is for descriptions. You need to draw in your buyer while giving them all the information they need. Put everything out there so your buyer does not even think about going somewhere else. If yours is the only unit for miles, call attention to that to capture buyers before they look anywhere else. To help speed up writing descriptions, create a template or checklist of what you want to include in each listing, like make, year, uses, and specs like class, mileage, condition, and more. If you're looking to take your online listings to the next level, you can take the following steps. Consider using a third-party marketplace to increase the amount of views your listings receive. They can also pull listings from your website so you don't have to recreate them. Activate advertising through marketplaces. Look at options you have with your third-party marketplace partner to increase how high your listings show within these marketplaces' search results. Use listings to grow relationships. Dealers can start nurturing prospect relationships as soon as the shopper views a listing, and digital touchpoints can build strong consumer relationships. Now that we've walked through PAID and how to hone your online listings, let's touch on another key digital best practice that your dealership should implement to keep up with your evolving consumers. First, ensure that you are enabling your leads and connections various ways to contact your dealership through your listings and on your website. This includes phone calls and emails, as well as live chat and texting options. Listings can also have other emerging connections like map clicks for directions to your dealership and website referrals that link directly to your website. Since you're already very familiar with phone calls and emails, let's talk through live chat a bit more. 79% of consumers prefer chat because of the immediacy it offers. So you could be missing out on a key connection with customers by not taking advantage of chat. Adding a live chat feature to your listings gives shoppers a whole new way to connect to you. You can designate people at your dealership to answer questions, respond to inquiries, and be available during chat hours. And texting as a contact method can still be a new concept for many dealers. So let's walk through it a bit more as well. 97% of text messages are opened compared to only 22% of emails. That's nearly a factor of 5. And over half the consumers would use texting to discuss a unit with a dealer. Like chat, these are leads that you could be missing out on if you don't have text available as an option. Some general best practices around leads and connections, no matter which communication channel you have open, are the following. Designate the right people from your dealership to respond to customers. That's critical. Keep your responses timely. Be professional, helpful, and informative. Use correct grammar in your responses. Answer all questions in your conversation. And determine next steps in the buying process if possible. Another digital best practice to consider is retargeting. What is retargeting? Retargeting is a form of online advertising that's based on a consumer's previous internet actions or online behavior. Retargeting is valuable because unlike traditional advertising that displays to a broad audience, retargeting allows you to focus your ad spend on consumers you know already have some degree of interest in your product or service and are designated as what we call in-market buyers. How does it work? A user visits your website and then leaves your site, but your ad is shown to them again and again across other websites as they go across the internet. The goal is that the user clicks on one of those ads and is directed back to your site to take the next step, pushing them further along in the sales funnel. There are two types of retargeting. There's display and there's dynamic. Display retargeting ads are static marketing ads with some type of visual and marketing message. They're ideal for goals of spreading awareness. You can set conditions on display ads that dictate what is seen based on what the user has viewed. Then there's dynamic ads. Dynamic retargeting ads actually create unique ads for each consumer and are ideal for the goal of conversion. Dynamic ads work great for businesses with a large catalog of products or inventory because they can be set up to show exact units that are relevant to what they have already viewed online. Okay, now let's switch gears to social media, a very important digital presence that should not be ignored. Key reasons to have an active social media presence are to harness exponential growth for your business, foster relationships with your customers, and showcase yourself as an industry and community leader. Best practices for social media include the following. Determining the platforms you want to be on, from Facebook and Instagram to LinkedIn, Twitter, and more. Whatever platforms you choose, make sure you keep them up to date. Absolutely critical. Engage with your followers and respond to all comments, both positive and negative. You can't just sweep them under the rug. And finally, you can better understand your audience by reviewing all the reporting available within the social media platforms. Share interesting content on a regular basis so your followers keep coming back to you as a trusted resource. And sharing content doesn't mean you have to do it all yourself. You can create this content in-house or share content from other industry experts. Some ideas for the type of content you can offer include things like blog posts, checklists, guides, industry news, and videos. Let's touch on videos specifically. It's not hard to imagine why video is so popular these days. In fact, over 1/3 of all online activity is spent watching videos. With customers searching for units outside of a typical business hours, you can be sure you can deliver exactly what they're looking for when it's most convenient for them. Okay, here are a few best practices around videos. In addition to pictures, be sure you're leveraging videos on your listings. The more angles you show, the better equipped shoppers are to make an informed decision. Showcase videos on your social media channels. They can be specific to a listing, or they can be about anything you want. Your goal should be to cultivate relationships with your audience. Share videos that introduce your team members, show behind-the-scenes footage of your dealership, or quick how-tos that help them see the expertise that you have. Some best practices for emails include sharing valuable content. You can even repurpose what you're sharing on your social media channels. Include any education, promotions, and information around products and services that your customers would find helpful. This is another channel where you can share inventory and listings directly to your shoppers. Make sure to write a catchy subject line that grabs their attention. And within the email, include a call to action that leads them to take a next step, like visiting a page on your website or filling out a contact form. Hopefully both. And it's important to not only send emails to your database, but also track those email performance metrics. What are we talking about here? If you're focused on increasing website traffic, check the click-through rates of your emails. This will show how many people are clicking through on your emails to look at more of stuff on your website. For authenticity and brand awareness, check open rates to see how many people are reading the information you are providing them. And if you're looking to boost sales, your email engagement rate is important to see how many people engaged with the content in your email. And the last digital best practice I want to share today with you is the importance of analyzing dealer reporting that's available to you. Be sure you're regularly checking your performance around connections and other important metrics. Understand your exposure by regularly checking your impressions, page views, and vehicle detail page listings performance. Be sure to keep up with industry insights from top models and buying cycle stages so you can keep your listings current. Through Google Analytics and what are called UTM codes, you are able to analyze the behavior of someone viewing your listings on a third-party marketplace and clicking through then to your website. It allows you to see what marketplaces are working for you and what components within the listings are providing the best results for your dealership. It's a real opportunity to compare your vendors. These UTM codes can be generated automatically and give you important insights into your audience and how effective these referrals to your website are. Third-party marketplaces also have performance reports available that make it very simple to track leads, connections, and many other dealership performance metrics to help you better determine your return on investment. Okay, to wrap up, let's go over key takeaways from all of the best practices I've shared with you today. Americans are checking their phone on an average of every 12 minutes, which is 80 times a day. More than 75% of potential customers are conducting online research before generating a single lead. 3 out of every 4 potential customers is doing their research prior to generating a lead. 82% of buyers said that listings are an important part of their online research. Hone your listings and remember the paid strategy: price, appearance, images, and descriptions. Make your dealership easy to contact through phone and email, as well as live chat and texting. Consider all forms of digital exposure like retargeting, social media, email marketing, and more. And the most important takeaway I want to reiterate that I mentioned at the start of today's webinar is how important virtual retailing and your digital presence is, but how especially important it is right now in the economy we're facing today. More and more people are relying on methods of communication that don't have to happen in person. Remember to consider the needs of your customers, keep up with current demands, get creative, be innovative, and continue to grow sales by following these best practices we shared today. And if you're looking for more guidance, if you have any questions about what I've covered today, or if you want to learn more about the services that can help you during this time, contact us by phone or email using the information on the screen. Thank you for joining today's webinar. I hope you were able to take away some helpful tips on navigating and selling in a digital world.